All right, Zach, right here, I want you to splice in the Macho Man, oh yeah. Like, really, really loud.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Macho Man is gonna come around, he's gonna eat his Slim Jims.
Oh, it's coming!
Hello and welcome to episode 40 of Random Encounter, the RPG fan podcast. I'm your host, Robert Steinman, Pale Robbie on the boards. Y'all have to excuse me a little bit. I'm in the middle of a cold, so I'm going to be doing my best to mute myself when I sniff and whatnot. So, joining me today, we have newly appointed editor-in-chief.
I'm the food critic. This is John McCarroll, editor and chef.
Yeah, I get it.
I get what he did there. So how does it feel, big guy?
I don't know. It's fine.
How does the power feel? The ability to fire me at will.
It's nice. It's nice. you know, I could fire you at will before, Rob.
Yeah, I know, but now it's like all official and whatnot.
Now, Rob,
No, even before I was editor-in-chief, I could still fire you.
Okay. We also have the man who spent the better part of a week in Amalur.
Oh, that's me, Stephen Meyerink. I'm Taylor's on the boards.
And the man who is obsessively compulsive and got 106 crystal thingamawidgets.
160.
360?
No, 160.
160. Oh my god. 160 thingamawidgets in Final Fantasy 13 too.
Yeah, I'm that guy. I'm Derek Keemsbergen. I do stuff on the site sometimes, lately soundtrack reviews.
You do write soundtrack reviews, and I try to list you as Derek Hamsberger, but I can't.
You did it that one time.
Yeah, that's right. It went live before I fixed it, and then I had to adjust it quickly.
That was cute.
All right. So we got games to talk about today. We got Final Fantasy 13-2. We got Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. And then I'm guessing John's going to deal with some news, including the devastating news that, of course, Diablo 3 has been delayed. Best game 2014 confirmed. So, who is clicking?
Wait.
Somebody stop clicking.
It's John.
Dang it, John. Stop that. Please?
I'm not clicking.
Okay.
I'm standing up.
Okay, it was Steven. Never mind.
Uh,
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about Final Fantasy 13-2 first. So we got two guys that have beaten the game. John marathoned the living crap out of it over the course of 3 days. And
Yay.
then we have
I do that way too often now.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like our go-to guy on marathoning games. Like I was actually kind of happy that Steven got the Amalur like first review for us because the only game I've ever marathoned was Deus Ex Human Revolution, and I was getting very irritated with that.
Yeah. What's great is, honestly, I finished my Final Fantasy review a day early. And so I could have marathoned Reckoning and then gone directly into Hyperdimension Neptunia and have 3 games in a row that I just do nothing but play in all of my free time. Probably good that I didn't do that.
Yeah, I notice I need breaks. Like I need breaks right now. Like I'm kind of playing other games to kind of saturate. Just too many RPGs going on right now. Since I joined up with this dang website, all I do is play RPGs these days.
so I definitely have the utmost respect for people who review more often than I do, because I've only had to marathon 2 games, and I kind of botched it with Deus Ex because I tried to play it like I normally do, where I do everything and play it on hard, and then I ended up finishing it at the 11th hour of the absolute last moment. But with Amalur, I was like, I started doing side quests, and I was like, my God, I'm never going to finish this game. I have to just, like, I put it on normal, and I was like, so many exclamation points must ignore.
Yeah, John.
And I was just like, nope, I'm going.
John sends me a review of Deus Ex Human Revolution on PC. He's like, yeah, I don't know if Steven's going to finish this. Do it. And I was like, all right. It was the middle of summer vacation. I just sat down with a cup of coffee and just marathoned it. It was fun, though. But anywho, back to Final Fantasy 13-2. John, your review.
Yes.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So you, if I remember correctly, you didn't give a crap about Final Fantasy 13.
Yeah, right. I got like 10 or 12 hours into Final Fantasy 13. I got to chapter 8, I think it was. And
That's before it got good, right? Apparently it got good at some point.
I think there's a boss in chapter 9, which is when you start opening up when it comes to customizing your characters. And I really, really couldn't care about the game. Like, I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about what was going on. Like, there was nothing that was like, oh, I feel attachment to any of these characters or this world or anything else, which honestly carried over to Final Fantasy 13 too.
Boy.
I really, really, really don't care about Sarah or Noel or Hope, though Hope is a significantly improved character in the second game. But as opposed to being whiny emo boy, he's like, oh, look at me, I'm a scientist now.
Um, when you say
Fantastic.
Noel,
Yeah.
do you mean grown-up Sora?
Yes,
Yeah,
grown-up
okay.
Sora.
Okay, because I was confused there because it seems to me like somebody from Kingdom Hearts just showed up in the world of Final Fantasy 13, sans too many zippers, and
Well,
apparently I'm
he's,
supposed
he's
to care.
from the future.
So does that wait, mind blown. So wait, Kingdom
that's where
Hearts
Kingdom
takes
Hearts
place in the
takes
future of
place.
Final Fantasy 13?
Yes,
I like how we
is
both
correct.
agreed to that without any hesitation. Like, oh, is that Sora? Yeah, that's him.
Okay, so Winnie the Pooh is apparently living.
He's the Moogle.
He's the. All
And
right.
Tigger is dressed up like a chocobo.
So in the end, everybody seems to be just like, okay, Final Fantasy 13-2, fun to play, story.
Yep.
Yeah, like I dig what they did with time travel, but you know what? The whole time travel thing was done in JRPGs a long time ago by a little game. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's really, really fun. It's called Chrono Trigger.
I've never played that game.
No,
Wait, what?
Steven, I am totally kidding, for God's sake.
you never know with Rob.
What? I liked. Oh, okay. Seriously, screw all of you. I like JRPGs.
I like the way that they've got the branching paths, and you've got alternate histories, and you can access both. Say you did something and it changed the course of history, you can go to the alternate timeline, or you can go back and you say, okay, I want to play around with this world, which is the entire let's move around, go between different timelines and different times, works just like Radiant Historia. It really does. It's as if you took the White Chronicle and were like, okay, we're going to change how this looks a little bit. Okay, go.
Oh boy. And apparently I was right on the ending.
Yes, which no, I'm going to call you out because Rob, who went and looked up stuff about the Japanese ending, I thought he was like, "Oh man, you called that." No. No, Rob is not prescient. He just reads things and then says them as his own opinion.
Well, I was actually saying that it was going to end like that because that's what I heard. I didn't mean for that to come across as like me being all like, "Ooh, I'm that smart." I thought I had implied that I had read that, but I apologize for that. So you weren't playing this game for the story. So what kept you going?
Combat and the fact that
Chocolina.
yeah, Choco.
Oh my!
Yeah, the fact that you know what? I mentioned Chocolina in my review and how bad she is. Yes, she is a pretty awful character. But luckily, at least based on all the nodes that I played, I didn't 100% the game like Derek did. So Derek can correct me if I'm wrong. Chocolina is just a vendor, and you only talk to her when you have to buy things. She doesn't appear anywhere else in the story.
So what the developers of Final Fantasy 13 said? Okay, you want a vendor? Then we're going to give you the most obnoxious character to talk to. What is this, a punishment?
Now
for
I don't
what
know.
we wanted?
I don't know which is worse: the fact that you have Chocolina, who's this crazy vendor, or the vendor from Final Fantasy 13, which was the save point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
They
has
make
a-
cool noises.
But now
she
Derek.
makes noises of her own.
Wow, that's
Moving on. Now, Derek, you got 160 widgets for this game. Now, one of the big selling points for Final Fantasy X-2 was that you could like get the full ending of the game and blah 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 blah.
totally ruined the ending.
Yeah,
from the
well,
10. Yeah.
I agree with you on that one. But does getting all those things do anything to the ending of this game, or is it just kind of like these are things you can get?
Yes, it does. There's a little secret epilogue thing that comes after the ending. You have to beat it again after you get all 160. But from what I've heard, it doesn't add much, and I haven't watched it yet. Like I just got 160 fragments an hour ago, so I haven't actually beat it yet.
It sounds like it's a Tetsuya Nomura Kingdom Hearts secret video.
But those are
I
always
guess.
awesome.
Hey, check out crazy stuff. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, but that's how it was in the ending. Like I don't know. We don't want to say too much about the ending, although.
No, yeah. This game is too new to really spoil what's going on. But I mean, I think what they're asking is, like Final Fantasy X-2, is the additional ending? Is it like the 5-second snippet where something happens?
I think it is. I think it's really short, but I don't know yet. I haven't seen it, so.
See, I still want a game that lets me play like a full game in that secret ending from the original Kingdom Hearts and like the kind of twisted futuristic city with like the Heartless and the cloak.
They did. It's called Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah, but you do that for like 2 seconds, and then it's back to crazy Kingdom Hearts. I mean, there's moments in Kingdom Hearts 2 that are good, but like...
You didn't like doing all the part-time jobs as Roxas?
I did like that, so don't make fun of that.
But why?
I have to... God,
Look, Japan is obsessed with part-time jobs. There's a word in... He's lovely me part-time job.
Yes.
There's two editorials that I really want to write at some point. There's one on like video game openings and how the opening of your video game can tell me whether or not like it can immediately suck me into a game or just completely turn me off to it.
Do you know what the beginning video of Hyperdimension Neptunia is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Is it a dance concert?
Pretty much. It's a bunch of scantily clad, what appears to be young girls.
Oh boy.
And to J-pop.
Sigh. But
are they singing Real Emotion though?
Oh no. But no, I think the beginning of a game is so freaking important. You know what I mean? Like that's what sets the stage for the whole game.
You know, what's interesting is I think that people are more favorable to games that start well and taper off, as opposed to games that start poorly but get better.
That's interesting.
Well, it's first impressions.
You know, like for me, I don't know how good the first Hyperdimension Neptunia was after 4
Terrible. Go on.
Because I only played it for 4 hours and I was like, this is awful, and I turned it off.
There's definitely examples. I think it's we're kind of used to games sort of tapering off and getting stupid. I feel like that's something that we've just gotten used to as gamers. Like the last little bit of a game is underwhelming. Some games do a very good job of having good.
That's why I'm a big fan of shorter games. Like I feel like a lot of games draw things out, and this is starting to stop. We're getting shorter and shorter games, and like you look at games like Portal 2. Now, despite not being an RPG, Portal 2 is about 6 hours long.
Yeah, and
it's good all the way through. I would rather have a good 6-hour Portal 2 than a mediocre 12-hour, whatever other shooter, even though Portal 2 is not a shooter. But.
Yeah. No, the ending of Portal 2 is great. And then you have, I think one of the best openings in a game in recent memory was like the first hour of Dead Space 2. Like that first hour is super intense and awesome. And then the game kind of like finds its usual rhythm that's very similar to the original Dead Space. You're kind of like, okay, this is good. It's not really doing anything new. And then it just keeps getting better and better and better. And then you do a really cool part where you're in probably the scariest environment in a video game in the past like 5 years.
Wait.
I know what you're talking about.
I thought that was in Kingdom Hearts where you go to Winnie the Pooh.
No, that just frightens Steven.
No, but you're thinking about Atlantica.
Yeah, that's because I think about Pooh stuff I have to do in order to get the secret ending.
Guys, did you just hear that sound? That's my nose bleeding from remembering that Fishy Fun song from Atlanta. Thanks, guys. But no, Dead Space 2 just like kept getting better and better and better, and I think that's so rare for games. And what ends up happening a lot of time is that you can see gamers are kind of like, I just kind of petered out. Like for a personal example for me is a game we actually cover. Maybe we should talk about that. Like I got to the Water Temple in Skyward Sword, and I'm done. And Steven keeps telling me, dude, the last couple dungeons are freaking awesome, and I'm like. Yeah, but I've dealt with about 3 pretty lame dungeons so far, and I'm done.
I don't know. I didn't agree with that. I thought, the first dungeon is pretty weak, but I thought beyond that, they were all good.
You know what game has an awesome ending? The new Ace Combat.
Are you being facetious?
It's a QTE, and you press a button, and your character raises his fist in victory.
Ooh. Yeah, the ending of Space Marine wasn't very good.
I haven't I haven't beaten Space Marine yet, but I hear that the last hour is just kind of like meh.
The last hour of that game is just like they throw everything in the kitchen sink at you. If you make one mistake, you die, and then it's a QTE at the end. But the mechanics of that game were awesome. Like, okay, we are way off topic. Can we get back to Final Fantasy 13 too?
Yeah, I was gonna say I have a comment regarding QTEs. So one of the things that they advertised about 13.2 is that it has these cinematic actions that are, QTEs basically. And there was a mixed reception to that. Some people thought they were cool, some thought they were tedious. Well, guess what? There's hardly any of them in the game. I would hardly even acknowledge.
And even the ones that are there, they don't matter. Like,
okay, there's like 5, and there's nothing you can do wrong in them. You can't lose by pressing the wrong button. You get a bonus if you press all the right buttons, but that's it.
But you can't fail.
At the very, very end of the game, there is a QTE choice, but they give you plenty of time, and it's not like we need you to choose, something complicated. I can't think of an example off the top of my head because I'm an idiot.
You probably don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, but it's pretty much do this or do that, and it's something that's pretty easy, and in the end, it doesn't really matter what you choose.
Isn't that the same thing with the dialogue options too? Like, you get dialogue options, but they don't really impact the game.
The worst was there was one sequence where it was dialogue options and it was giving me a choice, and there was a right choice. And every time, and as far as I know, there was no place where the game let you know what the right choice was because it was choosing passwords.
Oh.
And if you get it wrong, it does tell you.
There's like you're talking about in the tower. Yeah. If you listen, there's a voice, like a computer voice that goes 1, 2, and you have to listen to it, and then. I don't think they tell you in the right order, but it's just, you hear it while you're walking around, so you don't really pay attention.
Oh yeah, no. So I got all the wrong choices and was getting into random encounters every time I got it wrong.
But that only happens again like once or twice in the entire game.
But there are other ones than that one that do have wrong answers and just make you choose the right one. Which honestly, I hate that. If you're gonna give me a choice in a game, give me
an actual choice.
Yeah, give me legitimate choice. I would rather have.
Don't let me play a guessing game.
Yeah, I would rather have consequences if I choose wrong than just be like, no, choose again.
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to make a conceit of Western RPGs, and then it ends up just being like, no, the game is just as linear and just as like JRPG focused as it was before, but we're giving you implied choice, and I just think that's, don't even do it. You know what I mean? Like, just don't even do implied choice if there isn't an actual choice. Just be linear. There's nothing wrong. Linear does not mean bad.
I think it kind of takes away from just the integrity of the game. Like, it's like, we were so set on trying to fit a bullet point into this game. Oh, we have choices, but we don't. That it comes off worse than if there was no choice at all.
Yeah.
Now we're going off on a lot of the bad things about 13.2. Combat's fantastic. Leveling up has been streamlined, and it's impressive. I like fighting in the game. There were only a few places where I was trying to do a puzzle or something else, and I kept getting into encounters.
Yeah. I respect the combat system of 13. I mean, it's not my cup of tea. We always talk about, I'm all about control and about being able to do exactly what I want with each character. And, Final Fantasy 13's kind of coach approach to combat is very admirable. It doesn't do anything for me, but I can totally understand why people love it. I think if it was more like 12, where 12 I had to go in and think about each situation and form the gambits the way I wanted to, I found that to be engaging. It was like, how well did I put together my party? Oh, apparently I found the god party right away in the game, but that's pretty cool. But Final Fantasy 13, I didn't like the combat system there, and I don't think I'm going to like it in 13.2 based off the brief demo that I played. It's at least the game opens up a little bit more. I mean, it doesn't do the first 3 hours of the freaking game is just hitting the attack button over and over again. I thought that was a joke in 13.
Now, what I found is in 13 they don't in a lot of battles it inappropriately uses the paradigm shift system, where it's like you go in with your one power paradigm and just mash auto combat. I think there's more combat in 13.2 that appropriately uses the system, where based on what's going on, you need to shift paradigms, and that's where the combat system is. It's not in auto attack or choosing your abilities or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's in making sure that you have the right paradigm out in the right time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So did you guys like it overall, or John? There's kind of like ambivalence, but
Well, you know what? No. There's ambivalence because I hated the story. I thought the dialogue was really stilted. The voice acting was mediocre, but I really enjoyed playing the game.
Mhm.
Like even as much as I do for the website, I don't enjoy marathoning.
right.
It's something I do when I have to, but usually when I'm playing a game on my own time, I'm not marathoning. I'm not done with Skyrim yet. I play like an hour a week.
That's about all I could stand. So I understand.
But I actually, and it gets worse with JRPGs, and JRPGs are a genre that I really can't marathon
Yeah.
because they're very samey. But and I mean that, I don't mean that as all JRPGs are the same. I mean when you're playing a single RPG, it's very samey all the way through.
Mhm.
And that's true to an extent in every game, but I feel that that's more precedented or more prevalent in JRPGs.
JRPGs establish a system, and then they don't tend to break from that system. That's that is the format for the game.
But what's so great about a JRPG is that I'm looking at Derek's profile on Skype right now, so I have to bring it up. Like Persona 4, what made that game so special to me was that first off, it felt like an anime series in that each week there was like a set adventure, a set goal that you had to complete.
But in Persona 3 and Persona 4 are one of the JRPGs that doesn't fall into that.
Right.
Because every day you have choice on what you're going to do.
Yeah, and they're able to break up the monotony of the combat. And I don't mean monotony in a negative sense, but just in the way that John meant, which is that it is very samey. They're able to break that up with different story tracks and different themes and different ideas and characterizations, and like John's saying, the choice. And so when I play a JRPG that's strictly focused on combat now, to me that's a step backwards from what the Shin Megami Tensei series, Persona, what they've been doing is that they've been adding choice to JRPGs.
Now, to be fair, I'd say that's strictly Persona. Well, and for some extent, Devil Survivor. But I feel like the mainline Shin Megami Tenseis are Pokemon with demons.
Right.
Yeah, well, and you get a few choices throughout the story, but you don't get...
Yeah, they're also freaking hard.
Yeah.
Anywho.
But going back to my point, I feel like a lot of JRPGs are very samey, but when I was playing through Final Fantasy 13.2 on a strict timeline, I enjoyed it. I wasn't like, oh god, I have to finish this today. I was like, okay, let's play more Final Fantasy. Go. Let's do this combat. It's fun. And it's never... Final Fantasy 13.2 has a very interesting difficulty in that it's never hard... But if you act like an idiot, you're going to die.
Yeah. Well,
it always requires you to be playing.
Derek, give us your thoughts on the game. So John's kind of filled out where he stands on it.
I like it a little more than John did. I wanted to like it a lot more than I did, honestly.
Did you like it? Not to interrupt real quick, but did you like 13? I think you did.
Yes.
Okay.
I have the LaCie brand tattooed.
Okay, I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you right now because I will not have someone. No, I'm totally playing.
I know. No, like, and the thing about that is that it's not even necessarily, like, it's not my favorite Final Fantasy by any stretch of the imagination, but I had kind of a neat experience playing it together with somebody, and so it just means a lot to me. But anyway, 13.2, the gameplay is awesome. It's just, I had so much fun the entire time, like, developing my characters, finding new monsters, battles are fun. Puzzles are okay. They feel kind of tacked on.
Though, so I know that you played this if you got all the crystals. I still haven't finished out the segments in that wasteland to fill out Mog's story.
Yeah.
Because it's just filled with
clocks?
Yeah. Well, no, the clocks are not hard. They're just time consuming.
Well, there's a couple areas that are just like do nine puzzle segments in each area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so the gameplay overall, I enjoyed a lot, and obviously I liked it enough to 100% the game. I still have to get a few trophies to really complete it or whatever, but it's fun. It just, like, the story honestly just falls apart. It like they say paradox every other sentence. This is like that's barely an exaggeration.
You've created a time paradox.
No,
It
and
strikes me as it's a wizard did it phenomenon. They were like, well, we didn't put any emphasis on the story. Well, why is this all messed up? A wizard did it.
Yeah. No,
but instead of a wizard, it's a time paradox.
Yeah, pretty much. They as someone who's read a boatload of science fiction, they don't really handle the whole paradox thing very well.
Mm-hmm. It's not Marty McFly trying to save himself on stage at the Fish Under the Sea dance and jamming at the sea dance.
Cinema's greatest moments.
No. There is. Oh God, there's one part going back to the tower that
Noel's playing Johnny Be Good.
Yes. Now there's one part in the tower that's just it's like really that's what you're going to use, and I'm not going to spoil it because the game is still new, but I think Derek knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I think so.
When they're Adam.
Yes.
How they defeat Adam.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was ridiculous. See, that something like that happens 2 times in the game, and that time it was ridiculous, and another time it was just hilarious to me. And I know people are going to pick a bone with it. It's the part with I don't even know what to say to not spoil it. It's in Sunlit Waterscape at one point where Sarah does something to end a confrontation. I laughed.
Oh my God, yes.
Does she do love and peace and hold a peace sign?
So, I'm not going to say
it. It's hilarious.
Is it worse than that?
Yes, it is. But it is hilarious.
It doesn't involve a panty shot, does it?
Hey, no, it doesn't. Though the question I have for you, Derek, is actually during Sunlit Water 400 or whatever it was, which is an area that has no chocobos. The game was playing Crazy Chocobo for me.
Did
that happen?
Were.
What?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that blows my mind. It's like they have the Crazy Chocobo, which if you haven't listened to Crazy Chocobo, and chances are if you're listening to this podcast you have, go look it up on YouTube. It's the new metal Chocobo theme.
We should make it the intro to the episode.
It's hilarious. I don't know why people hate on that. It's just funny.
No, it's hilarious, but where it shows up in the game, it's like, what is this doing here?
Yeah, I felt the same. I was like, all right, okay, sure. I also hate the one of the boss themes that's like it's just terrible grungy death metal that doesn't really fit at all. Like the chocobo thing I can accept because it's it plays when you're riding mutant chocobos that are out of control and crazy. Wow. But with that one boss theme is just and the mutant chocobos, they constantly eat your greens while you're riding them, which is funny because they're jerks like that. But that other boss theme I can't stand. But I don't know. I don't want to go into it.
Yeah.
Question for you guys.
Yes.
How much do the old characters play into it? Is it pretty much the Noelle and Sarah show with other people popping up here and there, or is Lightning basically just a cameo?
Lightning appears at the very beginning and the very end of the game, and a little bit in the middle. Snow shows up in the middle of the game, and I don't think they ever resolve.
They do in a paradox ending, but it's weird, because it is a paradox ending. It's the paradox endings are the secret endings that you unlock. You can only get to them after you beat the game, and you get this key item that lets you refight old bosses that you couldn't beat, basically, and then you get new endings off of them. But yeah, he does show up in one of the paradox endings. It's kind of funky though. He doesn't really get resolved.
Yeah, the Saz shows up at the very end in a total. We don't need.
That was offensive. I was like, why bother including him if that's all you're gonna do?
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I'm here for 5 minutes doing nothing. Bye.
So every character of the cast makes an appearance, but most of them are just incredibly short cameos. Yeah, Snow is probably around the longest because he fake joins your party.
Yeah, but that's only for that one.
Oh yeah, there is Hope too. Hope is
around for the longest, I'd say. Hope and Snow have the largest parts. Lightning is there kind of as a backstory. Fang and Vanille, spoiler for 13, I'm not going to go into it. And then Saz is not there, really.
Well, so now the question becomes, what's going to happen to Final Fantasy after 13.2? Are they going to do a 13.3?
All right.
I hope not.
At the very, very end, there is a to be continued.
A lot of people think that's going to be 13.3, but it's probably going to be DLC. There was a little snippet of an interview with the director and he said that he plans to expand the story with DLC. I don't know if that means that they're going to finish out the ending of the game.
I don't think so. I think that expanding the story with DLC might mean tying up Snow's loose end, or might mean adding Saws some more, or might mean doing more alternate timelines, or I don't know. I don't think that based on how it ends and the loose ends that are there, that it's not something that they're going to be able to do in a 3-hour piece of DLC.
You know what I'd really like to do? This is kind of a brief aside, but I saw a really nasty article, as you'll usually find on N4G or Kotaku, because people like to get their stuff read, where someone was just like, Twisted Metal to not have DLC, can a game like this survive in today's world? And I'm really interested, like, how many people actually go out and buy DLC? And I can only speak for me. I very, very rarely buy DLC, and I think I'm in the minority on that. But I would love to, just real quick, John, I would love to see the numbers on, like, how did each DLC pack sell for Fallout, for New Vegas, for Oblivion? Like, were these huge selling items? Because you would think that they are, because game companies are doing it constantly.
Yeah. You know what? I agree. I would like to see it. I think that they do well. I'm actually loading up my PlayStation account right now, so I can tell you how many different items I've downloaded from PSN.
I do, like, nothing. I really don't.
Now,
like, I don't. I have too many other games to play.
Most of the games I like don't get DLC.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, this includes PS1 classics, demos, full games, that sort of thing. But I have 717 things that I've ever downloaded off of PSN.
Good Lord, man.
I have over 200 DLC songs for Rock Band.
Wow. That's a good point, because I downloaded some Rock Band DLC a little bit. Like, they had the Boston track. Of course I was going to download that.
I mean, I used to play Rock Band every weekend with my friends, and every week I would buy 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah. So I think that it's interesting that it seems like 13.2 has kind of been built around DLC in a lot of ways. They said they were going to do it, but I don't know if that's the right way to go. I just that article was so nasty, and I was just like, I think a game without DLC can survive just fine in today's culture. I don't think that that's a necessity.
I think that with Twisted Metal, Twisted Metal is kind of different because it's got to focus on multiplayer. And it's tough to have a game with a strong multiplayer component without DLC. But you know what? Even just thinking of that, but to be fair, this is kind of another echelon. There's not a whole lot of DLC in regards to maps for Team Fortress.
Yeah, and same with Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2. Everything was free on PC.
On PC, not on Xbox, though.
Right. But, like, I don't know. That, to me, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that we've reached a point where a game, even a multiplayer-focused game needs to have DLC. If anything, I think DLC in a multiplayer game, that requires serious balancing. You need to make sure that new DLC, that new car, that new weapon, that new whatever, doesn't break the game. And I think that could actually prove detrimental to the game.
And I think oh, go ahead. You know what? Derek wants to say something. He's typing to us in chat.
Derek.
I was well, it's not really that important. I was just going to say earlier, to add on to what you were saying, how often people buy DLC, because I rarely do at all. I did buy the lightning battle thing for 13.2 just because I thought that was cool. But I work at GameStop, and people buy DLC all the time. I couldn't believe it, because I've worked at GameStop. This is now my 5th time working at GameStop. I keep going back for, like, holidays. I used to be a third key manager, nothing really. But I'm back again, and I just came back in October, and I'm absolutely shocked. Since GameStop started selling DLC, like, we have the little boxes that we put out on the shelves that people just bring up, and we scan it through, and it prints out a thing on their receipt. I can't believe how many people buy it. Like, I feel like DLC is kind of I don't really like DLC personally.
My issue with like that article you mentioned, Rob, is that a lot of people are starting to, I think in some situations, are starting to view a lot of games as disposable or consumable. Whereas you look at a game like, we'll go with one that I love, Shadow Hearts. That game itself wasn't designed for DLC. That it would add nothing to that game.
Right.
Whereas now it seems like so many games are built to be platforms through which to deliver that word I hate so very much, content.
And very few games can do it. Like, I think Skyrim's a good example of a game that can do it.
Well,
Rock Band.
I think that there are games that are set up for DLC. You have Final Fantasy 13-2 is one of them, based on how you could even add DLC into to Radiant Historia if the DS had the capability to, because it's got a setup that functions for DLC.
Right.
Now, I get into arguments with people on the boards about DLC all the time. I'm pro DLC. I like downloadable content. I like having more for the games that I like. But I'm anti-bad DLC, and there's lots of games that have bad DLC out there. You bring up examples like Beautiful Katamari. Beautiful Katamari for Xbox 360. There are maps and things on the disc.
Yeah.
And
they're holding back.
Yeah, and you have to buy unlocks for them. You download a 100 kilobyte unlock, and that's it.
Yeah. You have the Arkham City Catwoman stuff, which I felt actually made the game not fun. Like, I actually thought that was the worst part of the whole game.
Now, the Catwoman
that's
stuff...
That's an online pass.
Yeah. Online passes are an entirely different story. I don't think that's an argument that we want to have today.
Well, especially considering one of the games we're going to talk about. And people seem to have lost their minds over that.
My goodness.
Well, I also thought it was okay. So we don't want to talk about online stuff, but like DLC to me, I'm not anti-DLC either. I think there's really good DLC. Like I completely forgot about Undead Nightmare for Red Dead Redemption. Like that was freaking awesome.
Or look at the Borderlands expansions. Those are all exactly what you want in a pack of DLC.
Yeah. I think that DLC as a replacement for expansion packs is perfect.
Yeah.
I like that. I much like the way that Bethesda is doing expansions in that, okay, here's a $10 piece of DLC, then buy a $30 Shivering Isles.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. That's fine. I don't know. I don't think DLC is a necessity. And I think some games like, think about...
I don't mean to cut you off, but I agree completely. As long as your game is complete without DLC...
Yes.
I don't mind more.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I think there's some DLC that to me doesn't even make sense. Like one game that we talked about very briefly at the beginning of the show. I love Deus Ex Human Revolution. I adore that game. It's a great game. I still haven't played The Missing Link, and I don't like. I'm gonna sit down and play it. I have it. John gave it to me for God's sake. I need to play it. But like, I don't know why it exists. It's a single DLC episode for Deus Ex that takes place in the middle of the game, is inconsequential to the rest. Why does that exist?
And like they don't seem to be making any more. So it's like,
why is it there?
It seems like they went really half-hearted with it.
Now, I actually have to agree here. I reviewed the DLC and I was like, well, this is okay. Deus Ex is not a game that's built to have DLC.
Right.
It's a linear game, and when I say linear, I'm talking about the story, not the gameplay, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a game where things happen.
Not a game where you go out and make things happen.
Yes, exactly. And a game where things happen can't support DLC in its game in the same way where you make things happen.
I 100% agree. So I think Final Fantasy... Go ahead.
Well, thanks, Rob. That's why you run into situations like, not that Mass Effect 2's DLC was bad, but they had a tough balancing act. You would run into DLC where, okay, I've beaten the game, and then the Elusive Man is calling you up and being like, hey, check it out. I've got somebody for that suicide mission. And you're like, what?
After you and the Elusive Man are no longer on speaking terms.
It's like, I'm pretty sure I just totally jacked your stuff and then you hate me now. But all right, thanks.
Yeah. I hate it when Charlie Sheen yells at me. Martin Sheen yells at me. I get mad when Charlie Sheen yells at me.
Charlie Sheen yelled
That's
at
even worse.
So Final Fantasy 13-2, we're expecting DLC. Well, we know we're going to get DLC.
Yeah.
Possibly a sequel.
Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're jonesing for a JRPG, Final Fantasy 13-2 is high budget and it's entertaining. It's far from the worst story I've ever seen in a game on this generation, Star Ocean 4. But it's a worthwhile game. It's back to kind of more classic JRPG compared to Final Fantasy 13, using that new battle system.
You want to posit a question?
You know what I'm excited for? Tales of
What are
Grace.
you excited for?
I think that's going to scratch the itch. That or Ni no Kuni. They're going to give us what we didn't get in 13-2.
Tales of Grace's Tales of the Abyss 3DS going to be out
Oh,
probably
in like 3 days.
I'm not sure how I feel about Ni no Kuni. I remember I played that at TGS, and I've seen a lot of it, and I just couldn't get anything other than, well, this is a very, very pretty, very generic JRPG. And I mean, I haven't played it enough to make that claim overall, but
I'm excited for that.
I feel like it's just the title, the name behind it, that's getting it all this publicity, because otherwise it would just be, very generic JRPG.
Well, but it would still be a level 5 game, even if it didn't have the Studio Ghibli license.
I know what I'm excited for. April, Xenoblade.
Diablo 3? Oh God, Xenoblade.
Yeah, that game ain't coming out in April. But I'm really excited for Xenoblade because from what you guys have told me, that's the JRPG that I'm going to like.
Every time I get on the podcast, I feel like I need to say, this is one of the best RPGs I've ever played in my life. You need to get it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I keep interrupting.
No. Mine's a true aside. When I'm going to get my Vita on Wednesday, and when I'm at GameStop, I'm gonna pre-order myself some Xenosaga it's not Xenosaga, Xenoblade.
Good luck.
I did not like Xenosaga.
I love it.
I really think you guys will enjoy it. I spent the better part of today talking to my brother about how awesome Xenoblade was. I haven't finished it yet, but I fully intend to. I mean, it really is just all the right decisions made in developing a JRPG. Like, I mean, aside from the music, which is fantastic, which I haven't feel obligated to point out, it's just, they said, okay, what doesn't work in JRPGs? What can we change? Or what can we co-opt from Western games that does work? But how do we still keep the core of, what makes it feel like a Japanese RPG? And we've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. It's what Final Fantasy XII for me should have been.
I'm okay with that. All right. So we've talked enough about Final Fantasy 13-2. I think it's time to talk about Kingdoms of Amalur, which is God, they really, any other name, like, God damn, this is a very, very. I hate telling my students that I'm playing this game. Like, they come by and they're like, wow, that game looks really cool, and they're like, what's it called? I'm like, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, and they just give me this look of just like.
Well, if it could even be acronymed, because you had Warhammer Online. I forget the full name of Warhammer Online Age of Reckoning, which sounds very similar, but they shorten it to War. What are you playing? I'm playing War.
Yeah, if I say I'm playing Amalur, that's a little bit better, but like, I don't know. I know it's a petty thing to pick on. I just don't. They need something to make this game, like Skyrim sounds like badass. Like it just kicks you in the teeth and tells you you're going to go out for an adventure.
All the people who worked on Skyrim, what did they have?
Money.
Herpes.
Did they?
They had jobs. What kind of jobs did they have?
Steve Jobs?
I don't know where he's going with this.
All right, I can't say it because it's dirty.
What?
Shout job? Oh.
Okay, moving on.
Audience, you have missed a funny.
Moving on. Anywho, all right. But no, I just think that Amalur, Steven, you reviewed the game for us, and you liked it quite a bit, and I am liking it quite a bit. I'm about 6 or 7 hours into it. Really, really liking it. Right off the bat, generic title, pretty lame opening dungeon. This game does not put its best foot forward.
I don't agree with that. Almost every BioWare game has a lame opening dungeon, and we love those games.
Well, I agree in regards to Dragon Age, but Mass Effect 2, where it's pretty much like, oh my god, awesome stuff happening. You're dead.
Yeah, all right. With the exception of only Mass Effect 2, Baldur's Gate 2, Baldur's Gate Throne of Ball.
Whoa. The opening of Dragon Age Origins is awesome.
I can't even remember it.
Yeah, because it's different for every character you play as. What's wrong with that?
Oh, yeah, that thing where you... Yeah, okay. All right, well...
The issue is not that they're different, but that, like, what did I play? I played, like, a dwarf noble, and I was like, okay, this is generic political crap.
Yeah, but I think Amalur's problem is that Okay, I don't mean to start negative on the game because I really do like it, but let's just so the opening of this game, you are in a fantastical fantasy realm. You start out, you create your character, obligatory knobs and switches to make your guy, and then you wake up from the dead, and it's like, go have an adventure. And until you get out of that first dungeon, it's like, all right. Then you get out of the dungeon, and then it becomes awesome. But I do think the beginning of the game's a little lame.
That's so many games, though. I mean, Skyrim, Elder Scrolls. I mean, the opening dungeon is called, here, you can use swords. Also, you can use bows. BT dubs, you have magic.
Skyrim begins with you being chased by a dragon.
Yeah, or the Macho Man.
Yeah, but it functions the same way. Oh, yeah!
Pod.
Yes.
But it's so great because the first thing you hear is, oh, it's coming. It's like, instead of the dragon flap.
Derek, have you seen this?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to find this for Derek while you guys talk about the beginning of Amalur.
So,
anyways.
So anyway, Amalur is a big open world RPG, but its distinguishing characteristic is
It's awesome.
Well, it is awesome.
Bug free.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, this game actually does play fairly well. But Steven, all right, Steven, start being descriptive here. I'm trying to give you lead-ins. Go.
Okay, well, basically, the big thing they advertise, and it's because it's the best part of the game, and not to the fault of other parts of the game. It's just the combat is just so fantastic and so open-ended and so completely like, hey, how do you want to play this? Go right ahead and try anything you want. Oh, you don't like that? Well, here, it costs you like a gold piece to reset your skills.
Steven, you there?
I'm here.
Are we just getting Derek's reaction to the Macho Man?
What is this? What has the internet done?
What, you don't like the Macho Man? The man's dead. You honor the dead, damn it.
I am honoring him. He's like shooping the whoop there at 1:30.
Shooping the whoop. Steven, keep going.
Anyways, so yeah, the combat is just great. Like the game is structured that your character has no fate because he died and came back, so he's been torn free of the tapestry of fate, and everybody he comes into contact with, he's changing their fate. By and large, that means he's murdering the crap out of them. But other people, you can save them. But there's a lot of combat in the game. But the other parts of the game are what really sold the game to me was that, okay, this game could have great combat, but if everything else sucks, I'm going to beat it and not touch it again. I had to force myself to skip the optional content in the game because all of it's pretty compelling. You get some generic, oh, hey, I lost my pants. Can you go find them for me over there? Oh, crap, it's a bear. But, and then you'll get some other cool quests where it's like, hey, help me unearth this ancient ruin and, decipher these runes or something. Every aspect of the game has at least had enough time paid to it to warrant its inclusion. Like, the side content is good. There's a ton of lore. There's lots of books you can run around and read. You can sneak around in town and stab people and steal their stuff.
Chickens.
You can murder chickens. And the game tracks how many chickens you've murdered, and I feel like they added that just for John. I saw that, and I go, I wonder if they added this after John wrote his thing about killing chickens.
This is going to sound like a knock on the game, but it's really not meant to be because, let me preface what I'm going to say by saying that so far I like this game more than Skyrim. I think Skyrim is more about immersion and making you feel like you're in a place. Amalur is very gamey in that it's giving you a task, you go and accomplish it, and you get better as a result of it. One of the best things the biggest things I love about this game is that when you beat a quest, you get a sizable amount of money and you get experience. And whenever I beat a quest in Skyrim, it was like, geez, thanks for that, buddy. Here's a generic dagger that's like 10 levels below you, but, move on with your daily activities. And
of course, he doesn't say dagger, and he doesn't say thanks for finding my pants. He says, hey, thanks for finding that insert item. Here's a reward.
Yeah, and I think Amalur does a much better job of making me, even if I'm not interested in the quest, I like when I finish the quest because I just got stronger. And one of the best parts about this game is you feel like a badass in this game. Like I am a pure magic user right now. I am like Harry Potter on drugs, flinging fire and magic and just death and destruction.
I think the difference there, and this is not a positive or negative for either game, Reckoning is able to do progression correctly because it's hub and spoke. It's hub and spoke.
I think I know what you're saying here. There's a hub, and there are spokes that you can explore out on in that particular hub. And then
got it.
On.
And then, one spoke takes you to the next place where there's another hub, and then one spoke takes you to the next place where there's another hub. And there's a general progression. Skyrim doesn't have that.
Yeah, Skyrim is just big-ass world, which is cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
If you go find the quest that, is in some area that's lower level, well, you get a whole bunch of rewards that you don't care about.
Yeah. I'm just loving Amalur because, for one thing, the game does loot right. Which,
oh, man, the loot in that game.
Somebody complained about the loot in a review, and I just wanted to slap them. I was like, I'm sorry, do you like picking up glass war axes over and over again? Like, this game, you get, like, the Diablo style, of the naming convention, and you're constantly the loot's coming in good progressions. It's not so much loot that you don't care about what you're using, but it's enough to where you're finding something new in a reasonable amount of time.
And the two things with that, too, one are that because of how good the combat is, finding loot in tandem is just so addictive. And that's what really is keeping me playing after the game, is that there are so many quests to do. And I'm like, cool, I can continue to build my character. I can continue to come up with sweet-ass combos. I can continue to find awesome items. And it works so well. And even the junk you find, you could sell it with the super handy junk feature, or you can, all the crafting skills are useful. You can level up your blacksmithing, break down all the crap you find, and then make awesome stuff.
I find it to be a very relaxing game to play so far. Like, I kind of went on maybe a 4-hour spree yesterday and another, 2 hours this morning, and I find it to be very, very relaxing. Like, I'm going around, I have a quest, here's another quest, here's a chest, here's a cave. But it's not
piece of candy.
Piece of candy. Piece of candy. And then you catch James Woods. But it's not it's not like the I'm going out and making my own fun in a way that I didn't feel in other open world games. Now, I will say that the game's quests, for the most part, the quests are good. There are some quests that are kind of, not that interesting. But there hasn't been a quest that has struck me on the level of like a Fallout 3 quest where it was like, go to the Republic of Dave and fix an election.
And I don't even think that was their goal. Like, I think
it wasn't their goal.
Like, I think they wanted, in a way, to do that, and they sort of succeeded, at least in giving the quests some identity. But none of them are like, oh man, I feel like I made a difference. You're like, well, all right, cool. I got goodies.
I did have a hard time remembering what I had done during that marathon section. I was like, okay, I did this, and then what did I do? I did this, and so you can really see the MMO background in this game. If somebody made an MMO with this combat,
my life would be over.
I would be in serious trouble.
You can't make an MMO with that combat.
Why not?
Because there are Okay, so Rob,
John's gonna break my head now.
Yes, I am. Because to have now there's a difference between an MMO and Phantasy Star Online.
Okay.
I want to put that straight out because Phantasy Star Online is completely instanced, and theoretically you could do something like this. So if you want Phantasy Star Online with this combat, I have no beef with you.
That's what I want.
Co-op in this game would be unbelievable.
That's what I
go
want.
on.
But you take from a technical aspect, you take an MMORPG. MMORPG assumes that you have a world that you're connected with multiple users. You cannot transmit that much data that precisely, that quickly.
No, I'll agree. So what I guess I would want...
Roger's like, I don't care anymore.
No.
Rob's like, I know you win.
No. But he's right. What I want is something more like Phantasy Star Online or something like Diablo. This wouldn't work as an MMO, but I think this would work as a multiplayer game. To me, I get flashes when I'm playing this game of Borderlands, only I care.
I think the issue also has to do with the concept of object control. And when you have combat like this where you're juggling, you're moving things around, it's tougher to say who controls a particular object. Most of the time when you have something going on, it's being calculated by a single console and being transmitted to the others in regards to object placement.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It would be tougher. It would be tougher to do it with the more action oriented you get, the more data that needs to be calculated, the more data that needs to be transmitted. It gets more and more difficult. I don't know. My brother works as a network programmer, so this is conversations that I've had with him before.
You're very right though, because like playing Dark Souls online, like you will see a lot of janky stuff. Like you'll see it, like
the guy will like walk to the stairs and then look like he's falling.
Yeah, you'll see some janky stuff because the game has to transmit an insane amount of data. But anywho, like Amalur to me is a very like big game about questing and about character progression. It people use that phrase, oh, Dragon Age Origins was the single player MMO. I feel like Amalur is just doing what I wanted, what I saw hints of in like the Old Republic, where I feel like I'm the most important guy in the universe and I have all these quests to do and I feel interesting and I'm getting loot. I don't mean that from like a gameplay perspective, but this is doing what Old Republic was kind of doing when I was starting it, but I wasn't fully there because the combat kept ripping me out. But this is what it's doing, and I really, really enjoy the game. I find it to be very relaxing. I think the combat is very, very good. I don't, a lot of people have said, well, the combat's not up to God of War, Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry. I'll agree with that, but I think the combat is awesome.
And those games also don't have a huge loot system and a great, really, really modular skill system that allows you to actually control something.
Right. I've got my beefs with the combat. Steven and I were kind of hashing about it a little bit tonight. I don't like, for example, that I think the dodge mechanic, it doesn't work like the dodge mechanic in most other action games, so I'm still getting used to it. It feels like I dodged and I didn't, and I end up getting pasted, and that irritates me a little bit, but that's me still getting used to the system. That's me. Sometimes you'll think that you're going to stun an enemy and you don't, so that's all based on stats and whatnot. So it is very much an RPG under the hood. My only real big beef with this game from the combat is that, I was playing it on normal, and a lot of people have said that this game is way too easy on normal. I was kind of feeling that, and now the game's starting to get a little bit more challenging, and I'm really liking how the progression of the difficulty is going.
I was actually going to comment on that, too. The difficulty, I was complaining a lot at first about how painfully easy it was. The game has what I would call a near-perfect difficulty curve. It gets more challenging, it ramps up, you are required to use your skills, but it's never going to make you want to rip your hair out.
Right. I have not been angry on normal. I've been like, wow, I barely got through that fight, but I'm not angry. Then I started playing on hard, and this game does the absolute most aggravating thing that a game can do when you increase the difficulty, which is we're going to give the monsters a hell of a lot more hit points, and now they all do more damage. Have fun. Like, it's not like they're doing new attacks. It's not like they got smarter. It's just that it's all stat-based. And I just roll my eyes, like when I'm wailing on a cave troll and I can't take him out on hard because he's just got like 11 billion hit points. And that's frustrating. I was kind of hoping that maybe they would go for more advanced AI routines, or maybe the enemies are more aggressive. No, they just hit harder and have more health.
One thing I noticed, my time with the retail build has been shorter than I would have liked because I'm playing Neptunia for review. But when I played my 8-hour marathon session when I was in Baltimore, at that point the game's difficulty balance between the difficulties was not very good. Normal was easy and hard was brutal.
Yeah, and that's frustrating. The example that I used was of course, Dark Souls does the exact same thing on New Game Plus. All it does is make the enemies ridiculously hard, in terms of health and damage. But at that point, you're playing on New Game Plus. You're playing with your new equipment. The game has to become challenging. Amalur just give the enemies a pool of hit points and have them hit. Most of the enemies on hard can kill you in 3 hits. I'm playing as a mage, and if I get hit by a cave troll 3 times, I'm done. That's a little too brutal for me. That's obnoxious. So for people that are saying that this game's too easy, I don't understand that, because I think the difficulty is right where it needs to be. And if you pump this game up to hard, it's going to get frustrating. It's going to get really, really frustrating. But I love the game. I'm very much enjoying this game. This is I think the problem, though, is that so far I feel like I've had no impact on the world. It's like I complete a quest and the lady's like, "Oh, thank you so much. I get to join up with the Brotherhood of Mages. Burp, 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 burp. Thank you." And then it's like she goes away. And I'm like, okay, cool.
I think that obviously I haven't gotten as far as either of you, but in regards to world impact, it feels like what you're doing doesn't have a whole lot of impact, which is odd considering that changing fate is supposed to be the the key aspect of the game.
Yeah, you kind of figure that's going to be the main selling point. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's different. And what did I say in the pre-show warm-up? I said that it's going to be funny. I kind of want to get Kyle on the show because I think Kyle, who likes games like The Witcher, which are all about world, and I like games all about gameplay. It feels like Amalur's my game. The Witcher 2 is his game, and it'll be interesting to see what he thinks of it because I have a feeling that he's really going to be upset with the world and the lack of impact on it, and I can't disagree with him on that. Like, I am not engrossed in this world. Like, I cannot name one character. I can't name my own character in this game because I accidentally gave him a name at the beginning when I was using my PlayStation.
Carwin.
Yeah, I named him Carwin by accident. And I was just like, okay, we'll go with that. That's fine. But I can't name any other characters in this game. It's not like the Dandelion in The Witcher 2 or Garrus in Mass Effect. There's no character that stands out.
And to be fair, you know what? Not in The Witcher 2, but in Mass Effect, you have a significant portion of the game is. Sorry, no, in Witcher 2 as well. Those games have a big focus on dialogue.
Yes, this does not.
And to have that focus on dialogue, you have to have good characters. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of dialogue no one cares about. Amalur doesn't care so much about dialogue. Amalur is like, okay, we're going to give you background. We're going to give you information about the world, but it's not like, I'm going to talk to Dave. Dave is my new best friend.
Right. Amalur is very much it's a task game. I kind of said this before about Skyrim. Like, this is a game about giving you tasks, about giving you jobs that make you stronger, that make you better. And that's totally fine. Like, I am completely okay with that. There's nothing wrong with that kind of gameplay. But I think that if you're looking for a game that is deeply immersive, if you're looking for a game that's going to, let you do things like blow up Megaton, this isn't the game. But if you're looking for a game that's about creating characters, having really good, solid combat, and having fun, I think it's a perfectly good game.
Yeah. I think that I was having a conversation with someone on Twitter, and I think that the reason that Rob really likes this game is Rob is a fan of Diablo. Rob is a fan of loot. Rob is a fan of combat.
Your point.
And no, I'm
I'm just teasing.
I'm essentially reiterating what you just said, which is if you play for gameplay, so you love Skyrim, you're gonna like Reckoning. If you play for story, you love Mass Effect 2 for its story.
Witcher 2.
You love The Witcher 2 for its story. I'm going to argue with you that Witcher 2 doesn't have gameplay, just like Steven will, but we're not going to have that argument again.
Wait, you're going to argue that it doesn't have gameplay? Because that's my argument.
No,
it does.
Arc. If you're a fan of Nier, you're not going to like Reckoning because, the kinds of things that are in Nier are
not touched upon.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and
which isn't to say the game is throwaway. The game is at least as good as other big open world RPGs in terms of story and lore.
Yeah, I don't feel as connected to the game as Skyrim, but at the same time, I don't feel like the game's pushing me away. I think the world that they've created is very interesting. Like, I went onto the Amalur website, the actual Amalur website, not the Reckoning website, and, Salvatore put a lot of lore into this game.
There is a crap load of backstory for this world.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that's going to be explored in their MMO.
Yeah, and that's the really cool stuff, and I really like that aspect of the game. It's not unlike Origins, where, when you play Origins, Dragon Age Origins for the first time, you're like, oh my god, this is so generic. And then, no, the writing makes it different. The writing distinguishes itself from the Tolkien tropes that have kind of controlled fantasy for so long. I think, first off, it's harder for fantasy to stand on its own than it is for sci-fi. I think it's much, much harder for fantasy to stand out. Because what does fantasy begin and end with? It typically begins with Tolkien. It begins with elves and gnomes and Tolkien.
Dragons.
And so, things like what Martin's doing with Song of Ice and Fire, that helps to distinguish it. And I think with with sci-fi, it's a lot easier because you can do different types of tones. You can do the Star Trek very clean looking utopian future versus the Star Wars kind of kind of grittier versus the Deus Ex, cyberpunk. You have so many different avenues, and I think the problem is that fantasy has a tendency. But what's really cool about Amalur is that I really like its storybook tone. I wish it went further with that. Like it feels like you're in. Steven, you told me like a week ago you were playing Lords of Shadow. You were playing the new Castlevania.
Oh.
And the way the developers
atmosphere in that game.
What?
Oh, Lords of Shadow. Saying the atmosphere in that game is fantastic.
They said that they wanted to make a really dark fairy tale, not a dark fantasy. They were very specific with their words. A dark fairy tale. And in a way, I think Amalur kind of does the same thing. And I wanted them to go further with it because I like the look of this game. Even though I didn't like it at first, I like the bright colors. I like the kind of darker Grimm's fairy tale type feel to the game, and I want to see him push that further. You know what I mean?
One thing that I think is going to be interesting is, obviously you have Bob Salvatore, who is a very, very prolific author. He had a hand in creating the Forgotten Realms world. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see if, in the same way that much of his novelizations expanded Forgotten Realms from a scenario to a world, I want to see that same sort of thing for Amalur, because right now Amalur feels like a scenario. It's a place where you can have fun, and I think with expansion it can become a world.
With a lot of intriguing. I was thinking the same thing, where a future. There's a lot of great history in this, but the core story here isn't very compelling. But I feel like they have the basis to make a very interesting story too.
Say he writes 2 or 3 novels. Say he writes a trilogy and scopes out 5 or 6 key characters. Well, even if Reckoning 2 or the Amalur MMO or whatever doesn't touch on those characters, or doesn't have those characters as main elements, there's still things that can be touched upon. There's still things that can be referenced to. And just like Star Wars, you grow and grow and grow that world, and people get more and more attached to it.
Yeah,
and you build characters that are memorable.
I can already see a sequel to this game and the different things that they're going to do, and I'm excited. You know what I mean? Like, I think that if they push maybe a little bit more with the tone and with, establishing characters, like there are – like the main Fate Weaver that you meet right out of the first dungeon, like he does say some funny stuff. Like one of the things you ask him is like, "Are you drunk?" And he's like, "Yes, I am, but this is very serious." And it's like that's the beginning of the characterization that I think if they kind of went full bore with that, this game could be a lot of fun. Yeah. From a storytelling perspective, it's already fun from a gameplay perspective.
I agree.
Yep. So what do we think about just let's touch briefly. We're not going to kick up too much sand, but I do find it very interesting the review scores for this game. Very, everybody seems to agree that it's good, but you're seeing 7s, you're seeing 9s, you're seeing 8.5s. Like there's a very wide range. Where's that coming from?
That's coming from the fact that there are, when some people play an RPG, so people who are playing Reckoning might be expecting Dragon Age. They might be expecting Mass Effect. They might be expecting any number of things.
So you think expectations have a role to play in that?
I do, and I think a lot of it also has to do with personal preference. Not everyone is going to like Reckoning because it's got a very heavy focus on gameplay and a lighter focus on a narrative.
Changing the world.
Yeah. No, I can see that. It's just it shocked me a little bit. Some people, kicking up sand at this game, and I'm like, well,
here's the thing. I'm never going to tell anyone that they're wrong about a game, except for Rob.
Well, true. I mean, Dark Souls is the greatest game ever made.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're wrong.
no, I'm not.
Every single person is going to react to a game differently. I've said this before in editorials and on the podcast and everywhere else. There are a lot of games that are considered to be absolutely top-tier games with oodles of production value and are universally loved that I don't like.
Yeah.
If I were to review Metal Gear Solid, Rob would tear me apart because I would give it a middling score because I don't like it. And
Urge
you know what?
to Kill Rising. Metal Gear Rising.
That and
That game,
you know
I
what?
want to kill that game, but go on.
That's fine.
That's how
Yeah.
I look at it. I really don't like Metal Gear, but you know what? I'm not going to stand in anyone else's way of loving it. And you know what? Just the same, the people who are giving lower scores to Reckoning don't like Reckoning as much.
No, that's totally fine. I think what I'm more talking about is that some of the language that I've seen in these reviews, and maybe this goes to the fact that I don't like some games, differently than others, but like some of the language, I'm like, really, you're knocking this game, and then I look at your review for another game, and you don't really seem to be picking on it for those reasons, and I'm like, what?
You know what?
Okay.
There are certain games where even though they might share flaws, they become more obvious in other games,
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't use language that may not necessarily show what we're actually feeling. I actually had someone email me thinking that I was very negative about Final Fantasy 13 too, when in fact I really much enjoyed the gameplay, and I think I focused too much on the negative aspects in my review because there was lots that I liked about the gameplay, but because it was all carryover, or at least a great majority of it was carryover, I didn't spend as much time talking about it.
Yeah, I look back at I read my old reviews whenever I write a new review because I want my writing to get better on the site. And like, one of the first reviews that I posted was Dragon Age Origins, and it's like every other paragraph I mentioned how much I hate mages in the game and how pissed off I got at them because like that became such a negative point for the whole game.
And you know what? It's tough sometimes because the longer that you have to cultivate an opinion about a game, the more you have to consider, the more that you've experienced it. And sometimes with a review, case in point, my Final Fantasy 13 review, I had a shorter amount of time in which to appreciate the game. I didn't have as much time to reflect on it and say, okay, you know what? I've had a month to think about this. You know what? I didn't like this part as much as I thought I did, but I really did like this part, and I felt that it added in. Sometimes you don't get that, and sometimes things don't come across accurately in a review. I've been told lots of times that things that I think I've said very clearly don't come across at all, and this comes in reviews, in personal communication, and everything. Yeah. What we say doesn't always match up to what we think that we're saying.
Well, I think a lot of that also has to do with putting a score on the front page, and you always have to be careful and say, does my language in the review reflect the score that I'm giving this game? I'm giving
absolutely.
This game yeah.
And you have lots of other issues because you have, we've all had the Metacritic game rankings discussion before where, you know what, a 50 on game rankings for us means that the game is really bad.
Yeah.
A 50 on game rankings for RP Gamer means that the game is slightly below average because our scales have different average points.
Right, and everybody's allowed to use whatever scale they want to. I don't care.
Yeah, no. But I'm saying in regards to the layperson, the reader, that you know what, I know for a fact that a lot of our readers read RP Gamer because, well, we're the two hardcore RPG focused websites, and we're two of the largest. And you know what, they're going to read a review, and they're going to read another review, and the scores are going to be disparate, and I think that they will go and they will say, okay, why are these scores disparate? And consideration of different scales used may not necessarily be the first thing that comes to mind.
Yep. Well, I think we've definitely talked a lot about these two games. I think they're both, worthy. Final Fantasy 13 2, not my cup of tea, but people seem to be happy with it. Amalur, I really, really enjoyed. I know some people don't. But this is not a bad way to start the year, guys. We got two.
I'm amazed by February. February is awesome.
Yep,
for
and
RPGs.
And you know what? March 6th, not very far away, and I'm starting to get excited. I'm
getting excited just because Tales of the Abyss is literally one of my favorite games ever, and the 3DS needs an awesome RPG, especially an awesome RPG that is enhanced from the original version. Like, they fixed glitches.
I forgot Derek was here.
Yeah, I forgot Derek was here too.
I'm sorry,
that happened
Derek.
last time.
I'm sorry, Derek. Derek, you know what I want to do for this podcast? I want to record you playing Dark Souls for like 5 minutes.
So I'll either be silent or I'll be cursing up a storm.
How far did you get?
Not far. Remember, we had this discussion.
You go back and try. Go up. Don't go down.
I will, but I was stupid and I went to the freaking catacombs and then I died.
Those skeletons, man. The first time I hit one of those skeletons, it did like 11 damage. I was like, I'm out of here.
And then they laugh at you. They go,
They sure do.
All right, John, can we do a short news section because I got to go check children in because it is Saturday night and we got to make sure they're not doing anything bad around campus.
Okay, that's fine.
Diablo
so-
3 delayed. No.
I don't care. You can't delay a game that doesn't have a release date.
That's very true.
Pokemon plus Nobunaga's Ambition got a trailer.
I still can't believe this game exists.
And holy crap, I want to play this game.
Really?
Yes, I do, because I love Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and I love Nobunaga's Ambition, and Pokemon is okay. But
sounds like a recipe for success, or at least middling success.
Like, no, you watch the trailer, and it's amazing. It's amazing.
So what,
this
like
game?
Cow use a Charizard, or like what?
No, that's Romance of the Three Kingdoms. You're in the wrong world.
I'm sorry. Nobunaga's Ambition. Yeah, I'm thinking China. Whoops.
Yeah. Anyway,
my ex-girlfriend who studied Asian history is yelling at me right now.
It got a trailer. It's very wacky. This is from almost a month ago, but I felt like bringing it up because we didn't on the last podcast. Yeah. Japan gets a very, very fancy Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance 3DS.
Don't care.
I care. Continue.
It's very cool looking,
I care.
except for the Kingdom Hearts and copyright Disney text on the top.
Oof.
It
can't be as bad as misspelling Revelations.
Revelation.
I hope somebody at Capcom got fired over that.
Oh, they're producing new ones. If you bought Revelations and would like Revelations instead.
I got the wrong game.
Can I make a public service announcement? I'm not sure if you have it in news, so I want to make sure we don't forget it. Radiant Historia is getting a reprinting in March.
Yeah, we haven't actually done news on that yet, but we probably will.
That's pretty awesome. Like, definitely, if you're looking for a traditional JRPG and you got a DS, you got to play that game. It's a very, very good game.
It's Radiant Historia. Sorry, my internet cut out for a second.
Yeah, we're talking about the reprint of Radiant Historia.
I just want to scream in the professor's voice, "Good news, everyone!" Because that's amazing news. That game is so good. And
it's always nice when Atlas does a reprint because go buy it. If you didn't, you're dumb. Go buy it.
So speaking of Atlas doing awesome things, did you guys see the interview with one of the Sony chief executives?
Yes, I thought that was fantastic. I saw it on Game Informer where he played Demon. There was an interview with one of the guys who at Sony Publishing. And they were talking about why they didn't localize Dark Souls, and it's because he played it and he thought it was awful. Or Demon Souls, I'm sorry.
Yeah, because Demon Souls in Japan was licensed by Sony.
It was published by Sony.
Sony owns the Demon Souls license, and they were going to bring it over to America, and he said he played it for like 5 minutes. Like, God, this is terrible.
Oops.
What would have happened like if that had been brought over by Sony? Like, first off, would anybody have played it? I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Atlas's marketing for that game was phenomenal.
They
want to play it.
They were hardcore about it too. Atlas is a company that we work very closely with, and it's very clear on some of their games that they're not pushing them as hard. They pushed Demon Souls like there was no tomorrow because they knew it would sell.
There was advertising. I mean, the first print of the game, it wasn't a special edition that you had to pay more money for. It was a first print. Came with a guidebook, the music soundtrack.
No, that was not a first print. That was a special edition.
I think it was a pre-order. Okay, so it was a pre-order, but you didn't have to pay more for it. If you pre-ordered the game, you got that deluxe edition, and that just was awesome. And they had a great website. They showed videos for the game. They showed it at E3, and they basically created a franchise. Like I think I wish that they had gotten the opportunity to publish.
Rob, you are confused. The art book came with both if you pre-ordered it. The strategy guide came with just the deluxe edition, which cost more.
Did it cost more?
I thought so.
Didn't they do that with Dark Souls though? Like as a GameStop pre-order bonus, you got some kind of enhanced edition.
Yeah, and it was kind of it wasn't as good. I mean, getting a strategy guide for one of the hardest games ever made always kind of a plus. I
remember I was working at GameStop when Demon Souls came out, and people got mad because the strategy guide wasn't available separately.
I thought it was a good idea putting the strap. Well, but at that point, the game had been out for so long in Japan. All you have to do is like type in Demon Souls wiki, and you have the strategy guide right there. Like, and the same thing with Dark Souls now. Like the wiki sites are great. They're constantly updated. So
Okay. Witcher 2, Assassin's Kings for 360 has some pre-order bonuses. Get a keychain, which if it's the one that I think it is, it's very heavy and you really can't carry it on your keys.
is it
like
the wolf's head?
Yeah, it's a wolf's head, and
Witcher emblem. Okay, cool.
yeah, and they gave them away, I don't know, 4 years ago for the original Witcher at E3, and they're very heavy.
Cool.
And they will hurt you if you sit on them. Because the wolves
do not sit on Witcher emblems.
Yeah, it's very, very spiky. Amazon.com, you get a digital Witcher 2 comic, and Best Buy, you get a T-shirt. And it's gonna be out on April 17th.
Go play it. It is.
I get to play it for the first time. Yay!
It was our game of the year for a reason. It is a phenomenal game. Very good. You know, I'm excited to see the enhancements that they make. You know, I love the fact that CD Projekt has continued to support that game. I really want to ask them if we're going to get those enhancements for the PC edition, because I would play it. Yes. We're going to get them? Okay, I'm playing the game again because I want to play that game again. I loved that game. Very good.
I just finished building my PC, and the first thing I got working on it was The Witcher 2, and A, it looks unfreaking believable, and B, it is really a fantastically polished game. The Xbox is getting some sweet RPGs in the next few months.
That is a good one. And I bagged on the game a little bit, but that's just because I'm very, very picky. But that is a great game. Great game.
Ghost Trick is available on iOS now.
Cool. How's the translation? Do we know? Is it like, does it work?
I don't know. I have not played it. It's only $10 though.
Wow. I feel ripped off now.
Well, or if you buy it, it's set up like all iOS games are, where you can buy chunks of episodes. If you buy everything separately, it's 15, or you buy it all at once, it's 10.
Good game. A little frustrating. Good game.
Good game. Winter is coming on May 15th.
You know,
Game of Thrones RPG.
I have no hope for that game.
No, I know that you know, but I'm clarifying for our listeners.
Yeah. I did play the Game of Thrones board game, though, and it was awesome.
Were you bored?
It is one of the most complicated games I've ever played, but it's kind of like Diplomacy and Risk mated. It's really, really fun. It's worth playing. I recommend it. The second edition just came out.
I really enjoyed Blood Bowl, so I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt for this game, even though Blood Bowl is far from an RPG. But
that's such a unique world. Like, the world that Martin created is so cool. And, you know, I know BioWare said that they wanted to make something along those lines with Dragon Age. Yeah, they didn't get close, but they still did a really good job. If anybody got Game of Thrones right, that would be great. I would love that.
We'll see what happens there.
I want a whole game that's the Lands meet. A whole game.
Xenoblade Chronicles, Nintendo of America is doing a vote on their Facebook page for different covers or alternate covers.
And they're all fantastic.
Cool.
I really don't like the one that's all green, but the green and yellow and the one...
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of them are weaker than others, but I think all of the art is just awesome. Like, it just makes me that much more excited to go out and pick it up. And I hope they do the same with the last story.
If you want to put Macho Man Randy Savage in your Skyrim, that's much easier because the creation kit's now on Steam.
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah!
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. CryEngine 3 was actually just licensed by Warhorse Studios for an RPG. This is a studio based in the Czech Republic, and it's headed up by Mafia's design director Dan Vavra and a developer for Operation Flashpoint, Dragon Rising, Martin Klima.
Interesting.
So there's absolutely no details available at this point, but yeah, CryEngine 3 is pretty fancy.
Yeah.
Tales of Grace's F. If you pre-order at GameStop, you get a costume pack and a dynamic theme that will not be available separately.
And if you wear the costumes, you get Tales of Destiny battle music.
Yes.
Really?
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
The costume pack is costumes from Tales of Destiny and Tales of Destiny 2.
I think that's lovely.
The real Tales of Destiny 2, not Tales of Eternia.
Oh, yeah, the Tales of Destiny 2 with Kyle and whatever.
We just about done with news?
I got 2 more.
Okay.
Dead Island getting DLC starring Ryder White, who is the bad guy.
Should I pick that game up next time it's on Steam sale?
If it's on sale, yeah. Like I gave it a 70 on my review, but that was assuming that you're paying $60 for it. I mean, it's not great. It's not even good, but it's passable. Like, you know, it's slightly below average, but it's got some elements going for it. The combat's fun.
Yeah, that gets to what we were talking about in the pre-show warm-up about, like, sometimes we just need to get away from these $60 priced games. I said during our pre-show thing that, you know, I really enjoy The Darkness 2, but if I hadn't have had a gift card, I would not pay $50 or $60 for it. Like, it's just not there in terms of the amount of, Steven?
Yes?
You hate when I use this word, so I was going to say it, but it's not there in terms of content. It's hard to judge.
No, I mean, I'm not universally against the term, but
if you got a 4 to 5 hour solid action game, like, I'm sorry, I just don't think that should cost $60. Like, that to me is kind of nuts. I think we need to get away from that in the industry, because there's nothing wrong with like a $40 or $30 game.
Portal 2 was 6 hours long, and I would have paid $60. I did pay $60 for that. And was very happy to.
I paid $50 for it, and I was kind of pissed because, like, the next week it was like $40 on Steam, and it's always been less than that ever since.
Yeah, well, the joys of buying a game on day one.
Early adopting.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I'm really ending on a not super fancy story. Lord of the Rings Online has an expansion called The Riders of Rohan announced. Be available in this fall. Increase the level cap to 85.
Wow.
Go to Rohan, meet with the Ents.
Cool.
Great game. If you like MMOs and you like Lord of the Rings, you should definitely try it.
Can I be an Ent?
No, you could be a man burglar, though.
A what?
Is that like a turd burglar?
No, I mean, the race is man, and you could be a man hunter, a man burglar, a man captain.
Is that like the Hamburglar? I'm confused. All right.
They serve the same function.
So is that it for news?
That's everything, I think.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for listening to the show. It looks like we have a lot of Mass Effect 3 stuff coming up. We're definitely going to try to get a huge podcast together with that. Everybody talk about their individual shepherds.
I think next podcast we should do some Japanese stuff, maybe with Hakuoki coming up, Neptunia 2.
Yeah, we got lots of games.
Tales of Elizabeth 3DS. I think that we can do all
something
Japan.
We can do something before Mass Effect, but yeah, it sounds good. We'll do a big JRPG podcast, and then we can kind of switch gears into Mass Effect after that as we get into March. We got some retrospectives planned. A couple people on the board said that they were interested in a Final Fantasy retrospective, which would probably take us the better part of a summer, but
you're way underestimating if it can take us just a summer.
I could write a thesis on Final Fantasy VII and how effed up it is.
And your top tagline can be "Ooh, soft."
That's Final Fantasy IX, though. But still, I love it. So yeah, we have a lot of good ideas. Again, we have not forgotten about the Shadow Hearts podcast. I just need time to play those games.
You have said that at the end of every podcast for who knows how long.
I feel really bad. But it's like, honestly, dude, working for a living sucks.
Yeah, like, tell me about it.
Everybody stay in school as long as you stay in school. Don't do drugs. Stay in school. Eat your vitamins. Say your prayers and whatnot. And
only you can fight forest fires.
I was more doing a Hulk Hogan thing to match with the Macho Man Randy Savage thing.
I only get 3 weeks of vacation time a year, and I use 1 week for E3. And it's like, do I really want to use days off to play video games? And I'm going to do that.
Yeah. See, I work at a boarding school, so I get the summers off, and it's just like that's when I had time to play Vampire through the whole way with 4 different characters over the course of 2 weeks. Woo, that was fun.
You fiend. I
started to really smell, though. I think I forgot to take showers in there. Like, I was just totally fiending on the game, and I had, like, pizza boxes strewn about my office.
So pretty much you were a Malkavian?
Yes, I was, in fact, a Malkavian. I yelled at a stop sign. So,
okay.
Again...
stop.
No, you stop.
No, you stop.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. For John, Steven, and Derek, thanks again. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us ratings. We're going to keep incommunicado on the boards and look forward to more crazy stuff.